Well, the South African Municipal Workers Union in KZN province says it's pleased that 119 Ugu District municipal employees have been reinstated. So what happened in 2019 is that the workers were sacked from the water department after embarking on an illegal strike. They were accused of vandalizing municipal water infrastructure. The Labour Court in Durban ruled that all 119 employees must be reinstated from the 1st of November. In addition, all the employees will receive 12 months' salary as compensation for their lost income. More on this. We're joined by SAMWU provincial chairperson Sthembiso Dlamini. Mr. Dlamini, thank you so much for your time this morning. Welcome to the South African Morning. I'm sure at this moment in time you must, number one, feel vindicated, but also breathing a sigh of relief for the 119 employees that will now be reinstated. Let's talk a little bit about exactly what transpired.
Yes, we are happy about what has been transpired and what we are being vindicated about, employees getting back at work. But however, it was a length of discussions around that matter, because it's not it's a settlement, in fact, where we sit down with the employer and we agreed that we need to those workers to go back on the 1st of November. And with those conditions that we've already alluded on, to say they must get 12 months back pay with a compensation, and with that 12 months will be staggered, because the employer was complaining to say in terms of the financial resources, they don't have it. However, we then said, look, we can agree to say that 12 months should be staggered. The first payment will be on March, 2nd, June, 3rd in September. The last one will be in December, to say they must get 3 months each quarter in order to make them get something, because there was that issue of complaining that the municipality will collapse. And we would like to say, after a long battle and fight, but at the end of the day, we concluded by saying that workers must go back to work on the 1st of November, 2022.
Yeah, Mr. Dlamini, I'm sure it's quite a very precarious balancing act. So, you know, you've got one side where livelihoods are very pertinent. 119 employees who were without work are now going to be going back to work. That says something about the sustainability of livelihoods. However, with that said, on the other side, though, you've got the very same water department that decided to sack these employees now, and I'm sure that contingency measures had been taken to replace those 119 employees. Is there concern from SAMWU's perspective that what we're going to find ourselves in right now is 119 more employees than we've had fulfilling the various, public sector jobs? And the question then becomes, would that not be perhaps a more inflated kind of workflow, an inflated water department as well, especially where employees are concerned?
Yes, as far as we got from the employer is that they've already sent the notice for those ones, because they told us that those ones, they were on a contract basis. So they gave them the notice to say by the end of 31st October, that will be the last day. But it might have that resistance, because even them, they were enjoying to work. So we'll cross the bridge when we get there and see what is it. It could happen that some of those employees, as much as they are being contract workers, you could find that they are still our members and they will come and complain to us. Then we'll see what is it that we need to do from there. However, our primary aim at the moment was to say, get those 119 workers back, and that's the settlement that we reached. In terms of other logistics, in terms of those workers that they were there, we'll see when we look at their contract and see what is it that we can do. If there's nothing we can do, there will be nothing we can do. We'll tell them that there's nothing we can do. But if there's something we can do, we'll engage the employer and see what is it that we need to do.
Yeah, look, in a time that, I'm going to labor on this point, because in a time where the economy is not in the favor of the masses, in a time where unemployment is at an unprecedented level, right? We want to be able to make sure that as many South Africans as possible have got access to work opportunities and actual real jobs. So I can only imagine that if you have to tell somebody, listen, you're going to be out of work because the one who was out of work last year is now going to be reinstated. I, as an individual who's currently working, the first thing I'm going to think about is my livelihood. I'm just having real conversations with you right now. The first thing I'm going to think is my livelihood is being taken away, and I'm not going to take that lying down because, again, we're in an unprecedented time in this country. So in terms of even beginning those conversations with the employer, right, how are you going to be starting them? Because if they're not started, you're going to have a bigger issue at hand, and that is disgruntled, unemployed South Africans who are saying, all I did was just to show up for work, and now you're telling me I don't have access to the very same opportunity that I was brought into. So is the department deliberating on this? Have you guys started conversations of this? We're just trying to prevent a situation in the not-so-distant future where we really potentially could see a revolt of those especially who are currently employed.
We're having two challenges. The first one was to say, bring back those 119 workers that were dismissed in order to them continue with their life that they were enjoying so many years. But in the process, we discovered that the second challenge will be those employees that they've already in the system being employed on a contract basis. And when we were asking about it, the answer was, no, they've already given the notice, 1 month notice to say at the end of October, we won't be at work. So then from there, we'll see what will be the outcome or what will be the results of that. And after we say that, then we'll look at their contract and see what will be their contract entailed or what it says. If the contract is being violated, we'll go back to the employer and say, what is it that we need to do, trying to avoid the situation that we are faced with. It's a situation that will need both parties, us as an organized labor and the employer, to sit down and come up with an amicable solution. But remember, our primary aim at the core was to say those dismissed employees must come back, and that's what we reach together with the employer to say, come back. Then the other issue, we'll discuss it when the time goes by, and we see how do you navigate and resolve it amicable as we did for this one.
Yeah. You know, we keep referring to the employer, but the employer in this case is the state. As the union, SAMWU, what is the relationship like now with the state? Because, you know, when 119 people get dismissed for going on a strike and issues around the vandalism of water infrastructure and, you know, embarking on a legal strike are actually at the helm, there's a crack now in the relationship. It's no longer as it used to be. Being that the employer is the state, what is your relationship like with the state?
No, you are right, but the fact that we were able to come to the conclusion to say, without dealing with the merits and the demerits of the case, the workers must come back at work. It means that we are trying to rebuild our relationship with the employer, which is the state, and to say that we can resolve matters without necessary taking them to court and court make determination on our part, meaning our relationship is not worse than we may think of. So for us saying that, it means we can sit down with the employer, we can sit down with the state and come up with an amicable solution. Then we can resolve it, and we can deal with the issue of those contract workers to be looked at and being either taken to somewhere if there is a possibility of doing that. But all it will rely on, the first is the contract and the availability of the work opportunities at that Ugu municipality district.
Yeah. Very quickly, before I let you go, Mr. Dlamini, if the state should come back and say, listen, we've tried, we just simply don't have the money at this moment in time to deal with the issue of compensation, especially for the past 12 months, what then?
Now, it's no longer our settlement agreement. It's a settlement agreement that was made a court order. So it means whoever that not follow what the court says we'll need to follow the law, because the law that make what to call that order. It's an agreement, but the agreement that was taken to a labor court, and labor court endorsed it as something that come to the judge. So there is no either us or them as the employer that will say, well, Cap, we won't do this because of 1, 2, 3, because that will be contempt of law.
We'll leave it there. SAMWU Provincial Chairperson Sthembiso Dlamini on the 119 workers that have now been reinstated at the Ugu District. Thanks very much for you.